Hi, I'm Jenyce. Welcome to Authentic Living. The following interview is with a friend of mine, and her name is Marjie Hadad. Marjie is a global public relations expert, PR. She is also the author of an award-winning international #1 bestseller book. And it's called The Power of PR Public Relations Parenting. Public Relations Parenting. So, what this book talks about is how to raise confident, resilient, and successful children utilizing public relations strategies. Now, Marjie's background is extensive. She's an award-winning television producer, which is so exciting. And she's really a good speaker. And she talks about in her speeches about how to use public relations practices to master parenting. Also, those public relations strategies help our children learn how to succeed in a career and to thrive in life for all of us, not just our children. Marjie holds a Bachelor of Science in Broadcast Journalism and a Master of Arts in International Relations, both from Boston University. Marjie is married and has 3 grown children. And here's the thing. She currently lives in Israel, as well as the United States. Marjie was present during the horrific attack on Israel a few months ago and during this horrific war in the Middle East. Living in Israel and the Middle East that is war-torn, I've learned from Marjie is so different than what I'm used to living my life as here in the United States my entire life. Resilience is the key, and the people in the Middle East, and specifically in Israel for this interview, have to be resilient. That's how they have to live. So we talk about her strategies the last half of the interview. We talk about her book. We talk about all the fun things that you can do with public relations strategies, including party planning. But the beginning of the interview, I ask her the question, how are you? And what has it been like? She answers that question. So stay tuned for Marjie Hadad.
It's been devastating, is the truth of it. October 7th was a Saturday morning, and it was Shabbat in Israel, and it was also the last day of the Jewish holidays, a holiday called Simchas Torah. So think of it, Dawn, as if Sunday morning and it's Christmas. And Sunday morning and it's Christmas and you want to sleep in a little bit later. It's a relaxed time. You're with the family. Who on earth is going to bother you on Christmas on a Sunday morning? Nobody, right? And then you hear a ding on your mobile phone. And at 8:30 in the morning. And my first thought was, who on earth is sending a message in a group on Saturday morning on Simchas Torah, AKA your version of Christmas Sunday morning? It's highly unusual. So I was sleepy, but I was conscious, and I thought, all right, I'm conscious enough to see what's going on because this is really weird. And the message said, is everybody okay? And I thought, what do you mean is everybody okay? What are we supposed to be okay from? So I opened up the blinds of my window in my bedroom and I heard a siren indicating that a rocket was coming in our direction. I screamed for the children to get up. I have grown children, but still, children are children, right? And because everyone was home for the weekend, for the holiday. 2 out of the 3 anyhow. And we all ran to the safe room. closed the door, and waited for the boom. Now, usually when the rocket attacks in our area, it's maybe one, maybe two, and that's pretty much it. Dawn, it continued to rain rockets, and the alarms continued until about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And one of the rockets actually fell down the street from us. One of the good things about Israel, knowing what neighborhood we live in the world, is that the government has invested in what's called the Iron Dome system, and we have safe rooms in many of the homes in the country, at least the new homes, if you will. So what could have been otherwise, we were protected by the security systems that we have in place here. Otherwise, there would have been a lot of destruction and a lot of deaths and murders and all the rest of it just from the rockets themselves. So I have been in the past caught in a rocket attack where I didn't have a safe room to run to because I was on my way to a wedding in high heel shoes and a dress. And I literally got out of the car, pranced around, literally pranced because I was in high heel shoes and a skirt and stockings and the rest of it, to the other side of the car. And my husband and I just did what we could. And he said, you know, don't look up, just stay behind the car. I said, what if the rocket falls on the car? He says, then we're toast. But fortunately, there was an interception of the rocket. It exploded above our heads and no shrapnel issues. And we got back in the car and continued on to the wedding. And that's an example of how a country and all the people in it, like Israel, continue about their business, even with the threat of rocket fire. The companies here continue to do their thing as best as they can, and then some. So manpower was decreased because of the call up, and yet the companies continue on. I'm in public relations. I'm in medical public relations as my day job. And frankly speaking, with all the stuff going on, I still had to get my job done. It was business as usual. That's what you call a resilient country. I think the key to the understanding is that this is not a political debate. This is an issue of good versus evil. And where peace-loving people and nations need to come together to overcome and get rid of the evil so that we can all live peacefully and respectfully together. My entire life has been about servicing others and helping others, no matter what their background or religion is. My friends are Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Hindu over the years. My interest is in whether you're a good person or not. Do you have a golden heart, and are you about celebrating diversity and interested in learning new things and seeing from the other perspective, whether we agree or disagree? That's, you put that to the side. And we won't always agree on things, but we can certainly get along and be respectful and be peaceful. And everybody brings something different to the table, which makes life that much more interesting, rather than what the Hamas would say, kill everybody who's not like us. And that's what the university students aren't getting.
It's misinformation is the tragedy of our time, and the fact that it can be spread so easily with social media and the internet, it's a blessing and a curse. And there needs to be some safety measures and regulations on what can be broadcast, and just figure out how to do that is probably the biggest challenge in the world right now, is to stop the disinformation. And it's causing, obviously, wars, horrific horrific murders all over the world, in our country, in the United States as well as in the Middle East. But that event is beyond measure. In my
It
lifetime,
was
I've never heard of anything so horrific, and I've been around 63 years.
it was the worst attack on the Jewish people since the Holocaust. And they also took 240 some civilians and soldiers hostage. And in the last few days, they've been returning some of the hostages. It's been a trickle here and there. And they started with the women and the children. And on the one hand, you're elated to have whoever has been released back, but you're also on edge and worried, sick about the hostages who were still there. And, in addition to the children and the women, when kids are in the Army, you have to understand that it's mandatory service. My kids are in the Army. It's mandatory service. My kids were called up, mandatory service, because a job needed to be done. And my kids are educated, they contribute, they're regular people, they're kind, they're not violent whatsoever. In fact, they're very, very peaceful. And this is who's been taken hostage, even as soldiers who need to get a job done. So anytime you hear of a soldier falling, we all feel the tragedy of that, because we're all mothers, we all have kids and we just want them back home safely so they can finish off their university or go back to their job and get married, have kids, what we want for all of our kids, right? Just happiness and peace and safety and health. It's a common denominator for most sane, rational families. I've been in public relations, Dawn, for 30 years. And before that, I was a journalist. And I am just watching the PR plays go by and the spin. And for the average onlooker who doesn't know anything about this region or the history, the PR campaign, unfortunately, is working for certain groups in the United States. And you see a lot of unnecessary violence. And I emphasize the word unnecessary. The key messages should be to our kids that we want to support peaceful people, peaceful nations. Yes, sometimes you have to stand up and take care of business because the perpetrators of the violence who start things in the first place need to go. But ultimately, the goal is to teach our kids to be respectful of others, irregardless of their differences, assuming that they are peaceful, so that we can all get along and create something better than our individual parts. You've heard the saying, the sum of our parts is better than everybody standing individually. If we encourage our children to see beyond the lies and educate them that not everybody does things the way we do them, and it's still okay, again, assuming peaceful, then we can advance as a world. Now, the other issue is staying safe in today's world, whether it's on social media or whether it is physical. If there's a demonstration, what do you do to be able to stand up for what you believe in, but also be able to come home at the end of the day not beaten up? And that's something that I think we need to review with our kids too, so that you have a plan. You know, in public relations, before we do any event or any kind of interview, we prep and think about different contingencies. What could possibly happen? What could possibly be said? What could possibly be asked? We need to take this PR practice, bring it home, and share the same with our kids, so that if anything happens, they have an idea of what to do to keep themselves safe. What's your protocol? And it's different for different communities and different situations. So that's something that I would leave to who's ever watching this or listening to this. Whatever you think is best for you in your neighborhood with your community, that's what you should share with your child. But the point of the public relations strategy is to review it before the child goes out the door. You know, in the old days, it was about sending them to school and making sure that if somebody tried to kidnap them, or if somebody tried to give them drugs, you know, what do you do? So we had like this whole protocol. When I would travel with my kids, we would play airport, and I would take them to the mall and pretend like we were at the airport. What do you do? This is what we do if this happens. This is what we do if that happens. It's the same thing today, as well as online. If you see something like this, or somebody threatens you, this is what we need to do. And there's no shame in sharing this with your parents or with a close friend who can help you.
Well, you, Marjie, are a global public relations expert and the author of an award-winning international #1 bestseller, The Power of PR Parenting: How to Raise Confident, Resilient, and Successful Children Using Public Relations Strategies. So you're utilizing your education and what you do for a career to raise children. It totally makes sense. You've been an award-winning TV producer as well as speaker. And like I said, you talk about how to use public relations practices to master parenting and to succeed in your career and thrive in life. I love what you're doing. With your Bachelor of Science in Broadcast Journalism and a Master of Arts in International Relations from Boston University, you reside in both Israel and the United States, and you're married, and you have 3 grown children. Congratulations on just a beautiful resume of who you are and what you're doing with all those parts of your life. I can't think of a better time in history to hear what you have to say for people all over the world right now, and to teach us some of those strategies, because it is tough raising children in this new phase of our world, and especially right now with the terror that's happening in our world. So can you tell us more about your movement, PR Parenting?
Pete, first of all, thank you for that lovely summary of the last 60 years. Been there, seen it, and done it. Yes. And ultimately, for me, this movement is about paying it forward to the next generation, so that the next generation and future generations will be able to live in a more respectful and kinder world based on positivity and celebration of diversity. Think of it this way. When we feel good about ourselves, we're kinder to the next person. When we feel rotten about ourselves, we generally lash out and put other people down to make us feel better. If we're able to collectively use public relations practices, strategies, and tactics to help lift our own spirits and our own self-confidence, but also that of our children, then hopefully, just like we took things from our parents, the good and the bad, right? hopefully our children will be able to take the good from us and pay it forward. Dawn, when I use these strategies to raise my kids, I did it unknowingly. And I'm thrilled that it worked out. Can you imagine how much more successful parents, moms, dads, mentors, anybody with kids in their lives will be exercising the same practices knowingly? Y'all are going to do way, way, way better than I did. I am not the perfect mother by any stretch of the imagination. I've messed up plenty of times, and I do. But I wanted the next generation to be able to benefit from hindsight. If I knew then what I know now, well, y'all know now everything that I know and what others know as well in this book, because there's plenty of stories, professional and personal, mirror the successes, what worked for all of us. Skip all the hiccups. Use this as an example and a red flag of what not to do as well. And what's kind of fun is that it's not all dark and serious like the beginning of our conversation, right? There is light. We're right in the middle of the holiday season. We all just celebrated Thanksgiving, getting ready for Christmas and Hanukkah and New Year's and going into 2024. And that's exciting. And I would be assuming that many people around the world are getting ready for all the wonderful parties. So one of the things that we do as public relations people is we throw events, media breakfasts, dinners, press conferences, all sorts of things, big and small. And because we are at the core of it party planners as one of the deliverables of our job, that's a skill set that I would also encourage people to bring home. One of the overall themes of PR parenting, of this approach, is to bring your skill sets home, your professional skill sets home to benefit your family. And one of my skill sets was this party planning. So whether it was 18 little kids from the elementary school for a sleepover, all the way to a bar mitzvah for me. For someone out there, it could be a confirmation party or a huge Christmas party or a family gathering or a birthday party for someone who just turned 80, what have you. In the book, we talk about how to walk through the thought process of a public relations person throwing an event so that you can bring that skill set home too. So I would encourage or invite everybody not only to read the chapter in the book, but if you go to my website connected to the book, which is PR4.life, you will see that there's like a little pop-up where you can download the party planning guide. And this is the exact thought process that I use for planning any kind of party that I do. Now, I do it automatically. But I said to myself, let's write it down step by step by step by step for somebody who might be a little overwhelmed with all the parties going on and what to do and what am I missing and how do I go about it and what's the perfect thing to do and what do I do next and oh my God, I'm going to pull my hair out. No need to fret. This list, you just check it off one by one by one by one.
That is great. I'm really excited to download that because it just sounds like fun. And I can always use just a checklist. Like I like checking things off the list. It makes me feel organized and successful in what I'm doing as I go. It's like little benchmarks along the way. So that tool it's mine. I'm taking it. And all of you out there, make sure that you go to her website and download that because how great and extremely positive. It's party planning. Hello.
It's fun. That's like one of my favorite parts of the job over the years is to plan parties. And because of that, my kids had really fun bar and bar mitzvah parties. And mind you, they don't have to be expensive, okay? And they don't have to be over the top. They can be whatever is right for you. And I promise you, my husband made me stay in budget.
Yes, that's important to keep the family happy and stay within budget, at least the significant other. So, how do you think PR parenting can help our kids and grandkids, because grandkids too, be more confident and resilient and experience success and ultimately, as you say, lead a kinder and make our world more respectful? How does that help our kids?
That's a very good question. And there are multiple chapters that pertain to this in the book. By the way, there are 10 chapters, and they were inspired by questions from real working moms because I wanted to make this a very practical book and answer real questions so that today's moms, dads, mentors would have something tangible in their hand, not something pie in the sky and so theoretical that they couldn't apply it. So when mom said, well, how do I handle crisis management? Or my kid won't give up their pacifier. What do I do? Or my kid is lying all the time. I don't know what to do. I'm just throwing my hands up in the air. Or, Margie, I really want to have a good path of communication with my child, but I can never seem to find the right time to speak with them. What do we do? So all the chapters address something like this and others as well. And what it all boils down to, Dawn, is teaching resilience in a way where our children are inspired to keep trying, to feel good about themselves, and where they experience some sort of success along the way. I'll give you an example. All the kids have homework at some point in their evolution. The kids learn in first grade how to write, right? In kindergarten, they get the ABCs. In first grade, it's subject, verb, direct, object. There's also a wonderful natural rite of passage in the first grade. Can you think about what that might be?
Rite of passage.
It's biological.
Oh, their teeth.
Correct. Well done. Very well done. So, what if we start as early as the first grade and have our kids write a letter to the tooth fairy rather than just put their tooth under the pillow? This way, they get to practice their handwriting, their sentence structure. They learn how to advocate for themselves because they're making a request to the tooth fairy for what they want for their tooth, whether it's money or something else. Let's take this another step. Whenever we write a document, and I don't care if you're in first grade or you've been a professional in business for 30 years, there is no such thing as the perfect first draft. The question we need to ask ourselves is, how are we going to edit our kids? How do we edit in a professional situation, generally respectfully, kindly? We don't want to make our colleagues feel badly. We just want to show them the way so that we can get what we need. And we need to bring that same philosophy home and approach it maybe this way. Susie, Johnny, whatever. This is one way to do it. Fabulous first draft. Would you be okay if I show you another way to do this and another way to do that? Wow, it was great to begin with. Now look how much even greater it is. They feel good. They feel like they've learned, but they also feel amazing because they know they had a great first draft. And because of the way you went about editing them, they build confidence and resilience and understand that it is okay to get feedback. It's not criticism, it's just feedback. Now, follow-on activity. Make sure that the edit is in a pretty color, not red. Green, blue, yellow if you can see it, whatever magic marker you happen to have at the time, or crayon, or what have you, pencil. And then at the end, they have this beautifully colored document. And then you know what we do, Dawn? We have them write it all over again to make it clean for the tooth fairy. And that's what goes under the pillow.
I love that. It's so empowering for the child too, because you asked if it would be okay to show them a different way to do that, and they made a decision. So it's all
Exactly.
yeah.
But this is just the start with the tooth fairy. You can ask your child to write request letters to Santa, the Easter Bunny, thank you notes to family members who have given gifts. And then as they continue to have writing assignments throughout their academic career, this is the process of how you would give them their feedback so that you always empower them and inspire them and have them want to look to you for your feedback to make whatever their first draft. Remember, no such thing as the perfect first draft. And I've said this to my kids, honey, I do the same thing and go through the same process with my clients. And they are 50 years old. And then they always smile. And I said, so if a 50-year-old needs a little bit of feedback, I would understand that somebody in first grade does too, right?
Absolutely.
And they say, right. And then they understand that it's just a regular thing and nothing to feel bad about, just part of the process. So that's a way to inspire our kids, to help them build their confidence, help them build their resilience, and ultimately achieve some level of success. And it all starts with a letter to the tooth fairy.
I love that, Marjie. That is so fantastic. So that's just a sampling of the work that you're doing and the subject of your book. So the material in your book, I assume, and I need to get a copy of that, is going to have more. It's going to have more ideas and more strategies, public relations strategies that you can bring home to your children and grandchildren. And I can see that it's easier to parent this way because we're just transferring information that we've already honed as an adult. So I can see that it goes both ways too. What we're doing at home, we can take also to work because these are little people that we love, and so to treat others in that way is important as well, not just our children.
Agreed. You know, I have been known on more than one occasion to be in a boardroom at a long table with 10 to 15 people sitting around this very long table and quote Disney. Because there might be a line from one of the songs that was appropriate in the discussion. So yes, I do bring things from home to work and from work to home, including time management, including the concept of customer service, trying to help rather than handle, prepping my kids for anything as soon as they walk out the door, what to expect, what to do in the case of something, security. When you get someplace, please let me know. There should always be somebody out there who knows where you are other than yourself. Now, sometimes the kids will say, that's an invasion of my privacy. I'm an adult. You don't need to follow me all around. Well, yeah, 17 is an adult. Okay. But I would like to know what time you're coming home. So if you don't, and whatever you do between now and the time you come home is your business. But if you don't walk in by the time that you tell me you're going to walk in, I would say to my teenage children, then I know that something's not right and I need to go looking for you or call the police. And in today's world, unfortunately, that's all too true, that we need to be looking after each other. Now, listen, I'm nearly 60 years old. I still let somebody know where I'm going and what time I'm going to be back. So if I disappear, someone will come looking after me. So it's really not an issue of an invasion of privacy as much as it is a safety factor and a health factor. The older you get, something might happen, health wise. And you would want somebody to come out looking for you in case, you started to live a movie of the week.
Exactly. Well, it is not an invasion of privacy. I see it as wisdom as an adult, and also because people do care about us. We're not an island. There's people. Everybody has other people that care about them. I don't care who
Right.
you are. It is being considerate to those that love you as well, because
It is.
we went if we went absent and disappeared, it would be a horrific event for those that we love. So thank you so much for this. Marjie, I just could talk to you for hours, but I know that you have a life and things to do and businesses to run. So I'm going to say goodbye for now, but I look forward to talking to you again. Would you be open to come back on the podcast again and talk some more about PR parenting?
Dawn, I would love to. You and I are good friends, and anytime you want to talk, I am available to have a wonderful conversation about whatever you want to discuss.
Great. Well, that leaves it wide open. So look out. I'm really looking forward to having you back, Marjie. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your experiences, especially over the last 2 months with us. I think it's a message that the world needs to hear. And this is from somebody who's there and experienced it. So I'm really grateful that you are here with us and that you're safe now. And stay safe, my friend.
Thank you. Happy holidays to everyone. And let's get all these hostages home and make this a peaceful world together.
Peace on earth. Amen. All right.
Amen.
See you later.